Ryan, thanks for being with us for another edition of Austin Fit Talks, produced by 1708 Media. If you work out in Austin, you probably recognize my guest today, Jeremy Thiel from CrossFit Central, and a host of other businesses, which we're going to get into, Jeremy. Appreciate you making time for us today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure to be on and excited about what you guys are doing.
Good, thank you. You know, this is an interesting time, I feel like, as we're starting to open back up businesses for gyms in particular. As you start to think about CrossFit in this post-pandemic world, what does that look like to you? And what changes do you think come along with that?
Yes, I think that it's a unique time because the marketplace, I always look at market trends, where we're at, where we're going. And what COVID-19 has done in the pandemic is really sped up some processes. And so in group fitness, we were moving towards individualization, but in a group environment. And because each individual is different, the blanket of everyone come together and work out has kind of worn its path. And people have been, there's been carnage along the way. People have gotten injured and things due to the fact that group fitness at high skill level can become problematic. And so what this pandemic has done for me and my business as we're moving forward is allowing us to create another step closer to group environment, but individualized training and attention. And so through technology and the apps and the software that's been being created over the last 5 years, now we're really stepping into that in the means of servicing people through video, through apps like a True Coach platform. That's a software that's been gaining popularity over the last few years, and especially in this time that personal trainers use, a lot of functional training coaches use. And how do we bring that into a group dynamic while social distancing, while still keeping people safe, but serving them fitness? And this was an opportunity to say, this is time to implement it. How do we want to go about doing that?
Hearing you talk about this, I mean, it sounds like you've started to plan the path forward. This has been such a shock for all of us. What was the initial kind of blow like when the gym shuts down or the box shuts down and you're not able to do what you'd been doing for so long? What was that initial few weeks like?
It was a pretty amazing, and I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I love entrepreneurship. I'm not, just a coach, a technician, which is another passion of mine. I take my entrepreneurship and combine it with my coaching and bring it together. So what I do is I came up with my 3 words was flexibility, agility, and endurance. Those are my mental framework, how I'm going to get through this.
Okay.
And so that developed over a short period of going, okay, information from the government, from the local mayors coming, how are we pivoting? And so you saw this about a 4-week process of restructuring our business each week as messages came out from, we're good to, cleaning protocols to training inside to moving out in our parking lot to, completely going online with Zoom remote and our liftoff remote program as well. And so all that was able to be implored through this 4-week kind of slowly closing and going virtual with what services we provided. It was chaos though. I mean, I literally felt like we were building a new company every week, and it was just here we go again. But I was definitely up to it, up for it.
Yeah, I mean, how can it not be chaos, right? For everybody in every industry. What's been interesting to me though, kind of to your point, is I feel like whether it's restaurants or gyms or whatever it is, it's been fascinating to watch the way the nimble businesses have been able to adapt and have been able to change their model. And to the point you were making, I think at the beginning, is that's how people can be successful moving forward, right? Is if you use this as an opportunity almost to better position yourself.
Absolutely. And I think that, and I reference this, and, I listened to a lot of, different influencers in the marketplace and getting opinions. And one that I really look at is the 21st century business model and integration of technology and remote with physical engagement. And if we aren't operating in an information age type of product and service, then we're falling behind the times. And I think this is a separation of the 20th century into the 21st century. And so there's going to be a multiples of interaction and engagement via virtual and physical. And if we're not playing to that and speaking to that with a service plus information, So if we're not driving information and education in the fitness world and other entities, businesses, then we are going to be left behind, or we're just not going to make it. And so if you're an expert and you're at the highest level of your field, you should be providing information and education with a service. And it should be monetized in multiple fronts. And that's really what we're doing to serve our community and build a new community, abroad, nationally and internationally.
Do you find it's more difficult to meet, or excuse me, to reach your clients when you're doing it virtually as opposed to having them physically in the box where you can work out with them one on one, or have you been able to adapt pretty well to that?
No, I think it depends on where the end user is and what their mindset is and what is their language of technology. I always hear it that way. Are you a email? Are
Mm,
you social? Are you text? So it's like if you have 5 languages of communication, I never answer my phone. I don't check my email, and I'm not on social. We'll text. Okay, we're going to text you, or we're
mm.
going to throw a airplane in the air and send it to you in the mail. Like, what is it? And if we're not utilizing all platforms of communication, then that client's just not going to be our customer. But really, how can we deliver it in multiple languages on technology? And so the people that aren't technology driven and they just want it the old way, that old way might just be going away, or they might not be our customers, and we'll adapt to new customers that are coming to us.
This is all still evolving, obviously, but do you feel like the demand is still there? People still want to get out, lead that healthy lifestyle, get in better shape. It's just a matter of maybe changing the way they've been doing it, but the demand still exists.
There's a unique, subculture in Austin, Texas as a whole. There's a healthy, vital, driven group of people here that want service. So that helps our brick and mortar.
Mm,
But the way that now there's, 300 million plus people in the United States. And what we learn with these online platforms is the marketplace becomes very large. And we're looking for, not everyone, but a sliver and who want what we are doing as we tribally get into our communities, which the people we're attracted to that are like-minded. I do believe that there's enough people that want the service that we're providing. Not to say it's not nerve-wracking to have a brick and mortar in downtown Austin and go, are people going to show up? And that's a big question. But as we've reopened, we've been open for 2 weeks, and this is our 3rd week. Condensing our class sizes, restructuring our whole facility, 6 feet apart, platforms and structures, cleaning protocols, entry and exit protocols, logging in through your app before you step into the facility, no group congregating.
mm.
All those are implemented. And today we have gone from a 40% to a 60% to an 80% schedule.
Wow.
Looking at, I'm able to get onto the app Wodify that tracks the customers coming in this morning. I'm able to see attendance, and we're about at every single class we're offering today is at least about at 70% attendance. And so that's a good thing. I think that it was even light today because of the weekend and a lot of uncertainty in the environment.
Sure.
To the protests and things are happening. We're in downtown, but it's a very good sign, to say the least.
I want to get into a little bit of your backstory. You mentioned always being an entrepreneur. And when I think about CrossFit in Austin, CrossFit Central's kind of the first one that comes to mind. And talking back, like mid 2000s, I remember I used to run with your wife some at Runtex, and I remember her talking a little bit about CrossFit. What got you into this so early? Because I feel like you were ahead of the trend. I mean, CrossFit's so mainstream now, but I don't feel like it
Yes,
was when you first got into it.
not at all. Yeah, I've been blessed to be put in positions to learn. And I think it's a natural thing for me. I'm kind of like a fringe, like I'm in the traditional, but I'm always on the fringe of what's next. And I'm always looking. And, I got introduced to kettlebells early 2000s, and that kettlebells hadn't picked up yet. That was about 2003. I was introduced to it when I was a strength conditioning coach at high school, at a high school for summer camps.
Mm,
And my mentor, the strength coach, he was at A&M, and he was always looking for things that were new on the internet. And we came across a guy out of Arkansas that was using kettlebells and different functional modalities, and he introduced them to me. And so that was this first thing of being on that cutting edge of like, hey, kettlebells, this is cool. And then in 2004, 2005 is when I got introduced to CrossFit from my friend who was a Marine, and he was traveling. It's such an alignment of coincidental like interactions. He was on a boat going to his first tour in Iraq, and he ran into a woman that was running, and he was out training because they were off the boat for a few days. He said, "What are you doing?" She said, "Oh, I'm doing CrossFit." And he goes, "What is it?" And she tells him what it is, and he goes back on the boat, and I could imagine their internet, getting on, and he sends me an email saying, "Hey, check out this fitness in 100 words or less." And this is August of 2005. And
Wow.
I'm looking at starting outdoor boot camp at St. Stephen's private school in the fall, and I'm getting into group training. I just didn't have the CrossFit. And so, so early 2005, my sister and I went to Colorado at the time. Some of the early adapters, the earliest of early adapters. It was one of those experiences that will never happen in the history of time again with that movement.
Sure.
Just luckily enough to be in there. And what I knew in my gut, this was going to change the way fitness was done. And my sister Carrie and I sold out to the functional fitness model of CrossFit, and we really never looked back. And that was 2005. The sport of CrossFit hadn't even been created yet. And so in 2007, they popped up a PDF of the CrossFit Games: come, work out, barbecue, drink beer, and have fun. And one of my coaches at the time, a good friend of mine, I said, "Hey, let's go hang out in California for a week and go to this thing." And he's like, "Let's do it." And so I went to the first CrossFit Games in 2007 in Aromas, California. And again, I went out to have fun. And by the last workout, there's four, there was a 5K, 2 workouts, and a powerlifting type of thing. And I said, the last workout we're doing a powerlifting back squat, and these guys were getting really fired up. And I was looked around, and it hit me like a light bulb. Was like, these guys are serious. And that's when I got serious,
Wow.
and it's because in 2008, I went back and I got 3rd place at the CrossFit Games. And then in
Awesome.
2009, my sister got 3rd place at the CrossFit Games. And so from 2007 to probably about 2015, it was about a 9-year run, plus my sister, my wife, and teams. We had someone compete at the CrossFit Games every year for about 8 or 9 years. And it was a pretty cool journey, but that was the explosion of Reebok, functional fitness
Sure.
being broadcast live and seeing the growth of the sport. It was pretty amazing.
I mean, when you look back on it, do you have the moments you mentioned are them, but do you have like some kind of favorite moments along the path?
Yeah, it's so unique because of like Dave Castro, who's the director of the CrossFit Games and really created the sport as a whole. In those early days, I was just able to, build a relationship with him. And it was kind of this adversarial, like, relationship of like, he's making these hard workouts and you're coming at him. And just, I can remember, 2 points, one in 2009. So in 2008, they had 4 workouts. And that was pretty standard. In 2009, they had 9, where they changed the term to events. So it had 100+% in events. And they say due to the growth of that over a 1-year period, 2009 was considered by some the hardest year of the CrossFit Games.
Okay.
And it was mind-boggling because of the volume that we had to scale up. And so anyhow, in one of the workouts, there was a hammer. You had to hammer in a stake into the ground and then row. And for some odd reason, the ground wasn't even across all planes and some guys were hitting a pocket and it was just shooting into the ground. Well, my stake went crooked. I was, mind you, I was in first place of the
Oh
whole
man.
competition. And Dave Castro's over there yelling at me, "You can't hit the stake in crooked. That's not, you're trying to cheat or something." And I was like, "No." And you're trying to hammer. It's like, this is not going, I'm like hitting a rock. And it was just stuff like that, that are just like, you remember those type of events. There's the joy of it all as you're suffering greatly. But, through all that, it was just a good time to be a part of the birth of a sport that's, grown so big.
It's got to be wild to sit here today and just think about where it is now, where you are, but where the sport as a whole is?
Yeah, I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, and now my 4-year-old. So me and my wife both have competed. Lisa, you mentioned earlier, at the CrossFit Games, and we're really good at fitness. Sport, that CrossFit has now been made. Sports, we were decent, but at working out and suffering, we're really good. And our 4-year-old daughter is really like, she will get out. She has her own kettlebell. She has her own barbell WOD toys, and
Wow.
we're doing burpees. She's doing burpees. When we're lunging, she's lunging. When my wife's running loops around the parking lot, she's running loops. So it's this cool thing to see that she's catching that, and it can turn into, hey, if the sport's still there, they have the teenage events, and all that said, will she be doing it in the future? Something we hope that she'll see that pass on. But, from the legacy of the likes of like Rich Froning, Matt Fraser, just seeing those guys like evolve the sport way beyond what I was competing at. It's pretty cool to see the capacity and the evolution of the sport and the athletes competing. It's pretty
Is
awesome.
is CrossFit Kids? Is that the next business model here? Is that what you're telling me?
No, CrossFit Kids is out there.
Is it
I think
really?
yeah, they've been doing CrossFit Kids since the beginning. I mean, there's
Wow.
definitely generational CrossFit kids that have grown up in the culture, the lifestyle of health and wellness and fitness, that are doing it today.
You mentioned kind of being on the cutting edge of things, and I want to talk about what you got going on now. Tell us a little bit about Lift Off Body, how this came to be, and how this almost coincidentally has aligned with the moment we're in right now in society, in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. There's different as an entrepreneur, always looking, but also as mission driven. This is my vocation. Me and my sister, Carrie Kepler, have always wanted to serve the most amount of people we possibly could. And being in the industry for 15 years, we were always looking for what that vehicle was. And for the time, it was our gyms. We serve 600 people a month in our CrossFit facilities when we're fully operational. She has
Wow.
a location in North Austin. I have one downtown. We do everything together in the way that we operate and run. And we're talking about how can we take this virtually and support and help more people get fit. But also our app, our platform, Lift Off Body, is only $19.99 a month. So it's very cost effective for people to be able to work out at home with minimal equipment and still have access to knowledge and information and exercises. We produce workouts 7 days a week through the Wodify app. We produce video content of the workout, me and Carrie doing the workout, demonstrating all the movements. So if you don't know what it is, you can watch us do it if that's the way of learning, if not reading. And then we do a very broken down, detailed version of the flow, the intention, how you proceed through it, and how you scale. If I'm unable to do this, I can modify it to where I'm at and scale the movements as well. So we want to serve a lot of people with the platform.
How much do the workouts resemble what you would get in a traditional CrossFit workout?
Yeah, they're very, in a functional fitness standpoint, in our current model, we do the 7 days a week is dumbbell or kettlebell related and body weight resistance. We have added a barbell component if you have access to that at home. But what we call traditional CrossFit, couplets, triplets, that's 2 movements, 3 movements, what we call chippers, maybe 5 or 6 different movements at higher volume, interval training, all those are components of what we serve. But it's more in the realm of general physical preparedness, GPP, functional fitness, but still traditional models of what a CrossFit workout would look like. So it will resemble that.
We were obviously living in kind of an on-demand world before this pandemic, before all this happened. Do you think that just increases now moving forward, where the ability in this case to have your workout right in your home when you want it on your schedule, that's only going to grow moving forward?
Yeah, I think it was a shot of adrenaline to that movement. I still think people are hunkered down in their ways and they
Mm-hmm.
want it to be the old way, but you're going to continue to see the erosion of what was into what is going to be. And so I do think this is a move forward, but there is still people that want to be in person on site. But you're going to see what we are now calling in our business model, the hybrid. You're going to have physical, you're going to have remote, and you're going to see the merger of both. And I believe as technology and video conferencing all increases in speed and dynamics, it's going to be that much easier to receive the service at your home. And with the proliferation of garage gyms, people are building out, people used to have treadmills, they have bikes, and they never used them.
Right.
This is the activation because there's a motivation and inspiration to take action. Of course, we have the Pelotons and those high level. I think this is a more cost effective and community based, model that can be driven. So.
Yeah, no, I think it makes perfect sense. I want to ask you about, you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but Austin and our fitness scene here. One of the things I always say to people when they ask me, what do you like so much about Austin? First thing practically, maybe other than food, is the fitness scene and how active people are and the lifestyle. Do you agree with that? Because you've traveled around to work out, but do you think there's something unique about our fitness culture in Austin?
I think it is unique. And I think that, the good thing, I've been here for going on 16 years in Austin, and we've seen from the Run Tex, Paul Carosa days of what that was like for fitness and health. And it evolved to boot camps. And then you have Gladiator, and then you have, CrossFit proliferation, and so many different genres of how fitness has emerged. And Austin has grown so much. So I think that even more in the old days, there was probably a hyper focus of fit people. And as the population grows, the culture changes, but the environment of the river, the trails, the bike lanes, the green belt, it just inspires people to move and to be healthy. And so I think that, Austin's always in the top, 20 fittest cities in the country. So I think we have an awesome, unique fitness community here that, I want to see it keep evolving and growing and becoming better.
Yeah, well, you've obviously been a huge part of it. One thing I'm asking all our guests on the show is, give us your go-to workout. What, you may not have all the time to go to the gym or whatever, but what's a workout you can knock out, and when you just need something reliable, you can bang it out?
Yeah, for sure. I stated like kettlebells. I love kettlebells. So we have, our own volume of kettlebells at the house. And so I like to do, and then I like to run. People like a lot of CrossFitters, they say they don't like to run. I like to run. And so I have 5 movements that I'll do, and then I'll either do what I call suitcase carries or farmer carries with kettlebell, or I'll run. And so I have 5 movements. I'll start from the floor. I'll do 10 kettlebell deadlifts, and then I'll do a farmer's carry about 25 feet and back. Then I'll do 25 Russian swings. That's swinging a kettlebell up to chest level. And then I'll do a farmer's carry. Then I'll do 10 push-ups with the kettlebell, and then I'll farmer's carry. So I'll do 10, 10, 10. I'll do cleans with a kettlebell, 10 on the right, 10 on the left. And then I'll go overhead. So we're going from the floor to the chest, to the shoulders, to the overhead. So full body coupled with a carry. And after I complete a round of that, I'll go for maybe a half a mile run and come back and do another one. And I'll do, depending on the day, if I want to do a short, quick one, I might eliminate the runs. Or I do, if I want to do a longer endurance day, I'll do 5 rounds and run 400, 800 in between each set. So if I'm ever just brain dead and what am I going to do today? That's my go-to for sure.
You got to have that though, right? Like just the reliable workout, is there for you.
Absolutely. And one of the things we do in our workouts, we do our traditional warm-up is 10 squats, 10 push-ups, 10 rotations. So rotation, just rotating the top of the body. And if anybody is you do 10, 10, 10 for 3 rounds, run 400 meters, come back. That takes about 10 minutes to do, and you can be on with your day. And some people, that dose alone, squat, push-up, rotation, run. So we're based that off of 4 pillars of movement. We got squats is lowering center of mass. Push-up is a push-pull, rotation of the trunk, and then locomotion. So we've always integrated full functional movement, and that warm-up meets those demands, and it gets your body ready for whatever else you're going to do. So that's another really simple go-to.
That's awesome. How much are you still working out every day? As we've covered, you've got a lot going on with the business, the kids. Every day you still get cranking out something?
Man, you know what? During quarantine, my fitness has gotten so much better. What I realized, we've all had our isolation and by ourselves, and it was a great reflection time for me. And I realized that had gotten so caught up almost in wasting time of what I can and can't do. I wasn't taking time to really work out. I would get them in here and there, maybe work out 3 or 4 times a week, a long run on the weekend, and do some resistance, but not really focused, intentional workout. And so when we launched our remote, we had Zoom classes at 6 a.m., 8:30, noon, and 6 p.m. I led all of the AM Zoom classes, 6 a.m.
Wow.
So a lot of people lead Zoom. They're coaching people through their screen. I actually coach and do it at the same time. So I was
Awesome.
given visuals. So for 8 weeks, I did a Zoom class in the morning. But what we know, whenever you get going, your body in motion doesn't want to stop. So I would finish the Zoom, and then I'm a big believer in breath practice. I do different breathing techniques like Wim Hof, or a slow 6-second inhale, 10-second exhale process. So I usually finish my Zoom, do 10 minutes of breathing, and I would take off for a run and do like 3 to 4 miles. But we're pent up in the house all day. The kids are at home, and then my wife wants to work out in the afternoon. So we say, okay, 3 o'clock, I'm doing my third workout of the day. And so during this time, it's been a major stress reliever and a mental stabilizer for sure. So I've been pretty hyperactive, and I hope to just keep that up, minus the Zooms, because we're not leading Zooms from the gym. We are running a universal Zoom. My sister's facility runs 3 Zooms a day that all of our community has access to, but I'm not leading those right now. So yeah.
That's awesome. You're killing it. But I've said that to people. I feel like the one piece of my life that hasn't been disrupted as much is fitness. Because maybe I'm not doing it with people quite as much as I was before, but that's the one thing that you can still kind of find a way to get it done. And for me, has been the one piece of normalcy.
Yes, absolutely. It's been, I think it has saved me for sure. And I feel really great. So I feel like I have a lot of momentum coming back into life as we get reopened again in the States. So it's been really good.
Good. Well, this was awesome. So much good information here. People can find you CrossFit Central, Lift Off Body. And then you mentioned you got a podcast going. And so where else can we find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like Instagram is probably my main mode of communication, and my handle's at Thiel, Thiel, Jeremy is my handle. And then I have in my link tree at the top as my Lift Off Body. It has my podcast. It has CrossFit Central. And I also, like I told you, I do a business coaching and consulting with 3 other facilities called Three Gym Guys, 3 of us CrossFit gym owners. That's on my LinkedIn or link tree on my Instagram. And of course I'm on Facebook, somewhat on Twitter. It's hostile out there on Twitter. So
it is hostile.
So I kind of am a lurker on that platform, but I am on all the social platforms for sure.
Awesome. Jeremy, well, thanks for joining us on Austin Fit Talks. This was great.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. If you missed any of our episodes, you can find them all at austinfitmagazine.com.